Brad, for the benefit of our viewers, could you describe in one sentence exactly who you are?
Who I am. So I like to say I'm a geek hippie focused on rethinking what ebooks can be.
Okay.
But help us out and give us...
Is there like a title?
I'm a software engineer working at Inkling, a startup focused on ebooks.
Okay. And what's your association with Doug Engelbart?
So I got to work with Doug in 2006 on the Hyperscope project.
And what was the Hyperscope project?
We were rebuilding parts of his original NLS system to run on the web.
And what was that system?
So the original hypertext, we got running in JavaScript in web browsers, and the ability to filter and look at information at a big level or a small level.
Did you work closely with Doug on a personal level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about a year and a half.
What were some of your impressions of him from working with him?
What an amazing man. Just always had a twinkle in his eye, always had kind of a kind word. I was really struck by the fact that he had this huge vision, monumental vision, and yet he always had time for people. He would give his attention to you, he would give his warmth to you, and listen. So I call him a respectful revolutionary.
Could you describe your conception of what his big vision actually was?
To accelerate human evolution.
Toward what end?
That's a good question. I think that his insight was that computers would be as big as language and writing in terms of shaping who we can be. And computers could be harnessed to accelerate our evolution in order to work together better, in order to solve pressing and urgent problems, and fundamentally be better people.
How was he to work with? Easy, hard, demanding? What was that like?
A mix. So very warm on a personal level. I think stubborn in a way, which is a strength and a weakness. So dissatisfied. So always wanting a bigger answer. So both really warm on a personal level, and I think hard sometimes to get a final answer to ship software.
Was he always looking at the big picture, always thinking it to some kind of end result?
Yeah, certainly. Definitely thinking in terms of an abstract big picture.
He was a proponent of something called collective intelligence. What's that all about?
Collective intelligence. So I think the way we interact with each other is a technology. And we learn better ways to work with each other. And so I think Doug wanted to discover better ways for people to work together, because if we don't, it can devolve into the square root of the average person, as someone mentioned at the memorial. So I think Doug wanted to, how do you have a group of people that works together better than any individual person could be? I use that in my own life. I like to ask, when I'm with the group, has this group made me better than I would be by myself, or am I diminished as an individual? And I think Doug wanted to tip it over to, how do you make groups of people better than any of them would be individually?
What would be the obstacle to people working together like that, once they decided they wanted to?
Yeah. Where do I start? I mean...
And why is it a hard problem? Why do people have trouble working together collaboratively?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard enough just to be yourself, right? I mean, and then you multiply many people together and all of their strengths and weaknesses. It can be difficult. And so having tools that can make people work together better, and then having soft technologies that we can draw on when interacting. We're doing that right now. As we're talking, we're drawing on a soft technology called language. And the give and take of an interviewer and an interviewee. So we don't call that technology, but it is.
What do you think is the most important thing that he's likely to be remembered for?
It's hard to say one thing. I mean, without a doubt, Doug had this amazing vision at the beginning of the computer revolution. And, you know, he's like the actor who in their first role wins the Oscar, you know, and it's like an embarrassment of riches. I think with time, with the hindsight of time, some of his other more subtle ideas, I think will get a better play. But I think it'll take a future messenger. Just like, was it in the 1860s, there was a monk who discovered genetics. And it took a long time, I think, for some of his ideas to really get out there, or Darwin even in some ways. So.
Do you have any interesting stories or anecdotes about him that would shed a little light on him as a person?
Like I said, I always appreciated that he had a twinkle in his eye. I felt, there was a playfulness to him. In terms of a specific anecdote, more that I couldn't give you a specific anecdote. Just the way he was just really great.
Do you think the world appreciated him properly in relation to what he actually did?
I think Doug's strength and his weakness was that he was unsatisfied. And so I think the world did give him a lot of recognition in many ways. But he always wanted to go to bigger levels. And I think that was a strength and a weakness, right?
Is there anything else you'd like to share about your association with Doug?
So I'm a computer scientist. As a computer programmer, I love that Doug was a really great role model. I feel like he was a great person who was good to people and also tried to change the world. And I feel like in the computer industry, there's a lot of not great role models sometimes. And I feel like Doug really showed that you can do good things and be a good person. And as a nerd, as a computer programmer, I really appreciate that.